Cromwell's head on the roof of Westminster Hall, right over the courts of justice.
Secrets are called secrets because they remain unknown.
Many people have talked about these missing years and have tried to speculate about what Jesus might have done during that time,
even though numerous individuals constantly try to solve or explain them.
In hand, the radio show hired a soda and flavor company to replicate the unique flavor of Coca-Cola. But the staff of the radio show, they called their version a failure.
Join us as we look at 20 world secrets that will never be revealed.
Not the first or last card.
No.
Watch the table. One card jumped out. That's the card.
20. The lost year of Jesus Christ. It is generally accepted that the period in Jesus' life that spans from his youth to the beginning of his ministry is referred to as the unknown years of Jesus. This period is often referred to as his lost years, missing years, or his silent years. The New Testament does not provide any details. The concept of the lost years of Jesus is typically found in esoteric literature, where it occasionally also refers to his possible activities after the crucifixion. However, it is not commonly used in scholarly literature. This is because it is presumed that Jesus was working as a carpenter in Galilee, at least for a portion of the time, with Joseph, between the ages of 12 and 29. Theories began to arise in the 19th and 20th centuries, suggesting that between the ages of 12 and 29, Jesus had traveled to India and Nepal in search of spiritual enlightenment influenced by Hinduism, or that he had studied with the Essenes in the Judean Desert. Most of the contemporary mainstream Christian research has, for the most part, rejected these explanations and maintains that there is no information available regarding this period in Jesus' life. The usage of the term lost years in the swoon hypothesis argues that Jesus survived his crucifixion and continued his life afterward, contrary to what is claimed in the New Testament, which is that he ascended into heaven with 2 angels. This, along with the associated notion that Jesus evaded crucifixion entirely, has led to several guesses about what happened to him in the years that are said to have been left of his life. Nevertheless, these theories are not recognized by mainstream scholars either. 19. Oliver Cromwell Head. On January 28, 1661, Oliver Cromwell went to a bar, which was an unexpected occasion for 2 reasons. First, Britain's puritanical Lord Protector was a known party pooper who despised alehouses and entertainment, and second, he was already dead. He did, in fact, die in 1658 from what was described at the time as a bastard tertian ague, which seems like an illness reserved for Vikings, dragon slayers, and Lord Protectors. Despite being long dead, Cromwell made an appearance at the Red Lion Inn in London, having lately been exhumed on Charles II's instructions. It was a brief stop on the way to the gallows in the village of Tyburn, where Cromwell's corpse was ritually hanged as penance for his role in the killing of the present king's father, Charles I. The story of Cromwell's post-mortem adventure does not end here. While his corpse was tossed into a pit, his embalmed head was retained and displayed as a popular London tourist attraction. 18. Mummy wrapped in foreign book. Mihajlo Barak, a Croatian official in the Hungarian royal chancellery, resigned in 1848 to travel. His quest led him to Alexandria, Egypt, where he purchased a sarcophagus containing a female mummy as a souvenir, according to ancient origins. When Barak arrived in Vienna, he unwrapped the mummy and placed it erect in his sitting room. The wrapper was stored in a glass cabinet and displayed. When Barak died in 1859, his brother, a priest, received the items. He then donated the mummy and its wrappings to the State Institute of Croatia, Slavonia, and Dalmatia, now known as the Archaeological Museum of Zagreb. It wasn't until the mummy arrived at the institute that someone saw the inscriptions on the linen of her wrappings. Heinrich Brugsch, a German Egyptologist, spotted the writings, but concluded they were Egyptian hieroglyphs and did not investigate further. Brugsch recognized 10 years later, during a random chat with explorer Richard Burton, that the language was completely different. The 2 men recognized the script as significant, but they suspected it was an Arabic translation of the Book of the Dead. The wrappings were sent to Vienna in 1891 and examined by a Coptic language expert. The expert eventually concluded that the letters were Etruscan and was able to arrange the wrappings in the correct order, but he was unable to provide a convincing translation. The Linen Book of Zagreb, as the wrappings are now known, is the longest Etruscan manuscript ever unearthed, and the only linen book dating back to the 3rd century BC. Most Etruscan works are short and fragmented, and most of the language is unknown. 17. Lost recipe for Greek fire. Greek fire was an incendiary chemical weapon developed and employed by the Eastern Roman Empire from the 7th to 15th centuries. The recipe for Greek fire was a well-guarded state secret, but historians believe it was created by blending pine resin, naphtha, quicklime, calcium phosphide, sulfur, or niter. Roman sailors would throw grenades loaded with Greek fire at hostile ships or spray it from tubes. Its capacity to burn on water made it a powerful and dangerous naval incendiary weapon, and rival nations attempted unsuccessfully to replicate the material. 16. Indus Valley Civilization. 4,000 years ago, the expanding Indus Valley Civilization ruled over what is today Pakistan and India. From 2600 BC to 1500 BC, the Indus Valley Civilization thrived on the Indian subcontinent along the Indus River. Archaeological evidence suggests it had a tremendous impact on Hindu culture. This civilization had been lost to history until it was found in 1920. Considering the evidence of the advent of cities, agriculture, architecture, and writing, it is ranked as one of the 3 most ancient civilizations on Earth, alongside its contemporaries, Mesopotamia and Egypt. Although it is considered one of the world's oldest civilizations and has been extensively researched, much about this ancient society is unknown. 15. Mystery of Taj Mahal. Agra, India, is home to the Taj Mahal, a Mughal architectural marvel. This glittering monument, which spans 42 acres, is the peak of it, yet it still has a heartbreaking story to tell. This 400-year-old edifice was once the largest and most spectacular construction of its day. It is now regarded as the 8th wonder of the world. 20,000 laborers struggled for 22 years straight, spending blood and sweat to build this magnificent structure. According to some experts, for ages, visitors to the Taj Mahal have been provided incorrect information. Contrary to popular belief, the Taj Mahal is not an Islamic mausoleum, but rather an ancient Shiva temple known as Taj Mahal, which the 5th-generation Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan took over from the then Maharaja of Jaipur. The Taj Mahal should be considered as a temple palace rather than a mausoleum. 14. The Imperial napkin fold. A napkin, whether paper or fabric, is already a typical element of our dining experience. The word napkin is derived from the French word nappe, which is a diminutive for the fabric that covers the table. Napkins have been used in ancient Rome before. In the Middle Ages, its use was reserved for the nobility, and particularly during the Baroque period, imaginative cloth napkin compositions were popular, revealing the host's social status. The clever figures folded from the napkins were generally animals that could be eaten in the real world, such as fish, birds, and poultry. The Austrian emperor's feasts included napkins folded into a laying flower. Napkins of the finest linen measuring 1 by 1 meter were utilized. A croissant and a bun were inserted into the open flower, improving the napkin's stability. These napkins are still folded today, just as they were 200 years ago, at state banquets, particularly when a monarch visits Austria. The folding procedure is not recorded in writing. It has always been passed down orally from generation to generation. 13. Secret recipe of Coca-Cola. In a competitive market, one technique that brand analysts attribute Coke's relative strength to is the mystery surrounding their much-hyped secret recipe. The concept of mystery draws attention and is frequently regarded as an indicator of excellence. A typical consumer would assume that if they are going to such lengths to safeguard the recipe, it must be a valuable product. Coca-Cola's secret recipe narrative, on which it has based advertising campaigns and constructed its corporate museum, dates back nearly a century. According to the multinational's website, the original formula was not written down until 1919, more than half a century after the drink was devised in 1886 by a purported morphine addict and chemist John Pemberton. Until then, it was passed down through word of mouth. 12. Greatest card trick, David Berglas. In the late 1940s, British magician David Berglas began developing a trick that became known as the Holy Grail of card magic. Nobody knows for sure how he achieved it. He has exposed practically every secret from his lengthy and illustrious career, even after decades of retirement. This includes the moment in 1954 when he made a grand piano vanish in a crowded London hotel banquet room. But even now, when the subject of Berglas's famed effect comes up, he remains as vague as ever. At the age of 94, magician David Berglas claimed that his famous trick could not be taught. 11. The origin of HIV/AIDS. HIV infection in humans was transmitted by a kind of chimpanzee in Central Africa. According to some studies, HIV may have spread from chimps to people as early as the late 1800s. The chimpanzee variant of the virus is known as simian immunodeficiency virus. It was most likely transmitted to humans when they hunted these chimps for meat and came into touch with their diseased blood. HIV spread slowly across Africa for decades before spreading to other parts of the world. The virus has been present in the United States since at least the mid to late 1970s. 10. The Farmer Almanac Formula. The Farmer's Almanac has predicted the weather since 1818. Prior to the introduction of television weather predictors, farmers relied on the annual almanac to foretell long-term weather for the coming months. The publishers have kept a tight lid on how the book makes its forecasts without the need of a satellite or even groundhog. According to the Farmer's Almanac website, they use a precise formula, which only one person knows, Caleb Weatherby. It's absurd to believe that something as crucial as weather prediction is still classified, just like other things that only one person truly understands. Caleb Weatherby isn't even the person's genuine name. It's a pseudonym used to keep him hidden from prying eyes. The firm believes that keeping both the formula and Weatherby's identity hidden is critical. What little we know about the formula came from the corporation itself. The formula, invented in 1818 by its original editor David Young, considers astronomical activities such as sunspots, lunar tidal movements, planet positions, and other secret considerations. The recipe has evolved over time since its original 19th century formulation. However, the Almanac's publishers stated that they believe Weatherby's application of the algorithm because it has been time-tested. After all, they've been issuing weather predictions for 200 years. That is longer than the National Weather Service, which was established 50 years after them. 9. Bohemian Grove. The all-male club for the wealthy and powerful, known as Bohemian Grove, has been making headlines ever since it was disclosed that Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas attended the retreat with a buddy who is a millionaire. Because Bohemian Grove is a secretive and exclusive community, it has been the subject of both demonstrations and conspiracy theories. Bohemian Grove is situated in Sonoma County, which is located north of San Francisco. Conversations about business are absolutely prohibited at the club that is hosting the retreat. It has been reported that some of the most powerful men in the United States have made deals and networked at the club, which has been around for 150 years, while participating in a peculiar mix of rites and activities. The membership list of the organization is kept confidential. Nevertheless, certain information has been disclosed, and the club maintains a website that is of a fundamental nature. It is noteworthy that Presidents Herbert Hoover, Ronald Reagan, and Richard Nixon, as well as many well-known writers, actresses, and businessmen, have all been members of the organization. One of the most important events that led to the creation of the atomic weapon was a planning meeting for the Manhattan Project that took place in the Grove in the year 1942. The encampment, which lasts for 2 weeks, is said to include rituals, stage acts, a significant amount of drinking, and the practice of urinating in the open air. Alex Jones, a conspiracy theorist, broke into the club in the year 2000 and recorded one of their ceremonies while it was taking place. The ceremony involved the burning of an effigy. He produced a documentary that was fraught with lurid allegations, including major conspiracies and the sacrifice of human beings. It was journalist John Ronson, who had a totally different point of view, who was accompanying him at the time. Following the event, he wrote, "My lasting impression was of an all-pervasive sense of immaturity. I was curious as to whether or if the Bohemians cloaked themselves in deception for no other reason than the fact that they thought it was great." 8. Pearl Harbor Ghost Plane. It was December 1942, a year and a day after the Japanese surprise attack that ushered the United States into World War II. The American Navy was stationed in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. According to published sources, radar contact was made with an inbound aircraft, and fighter planes were rushed to intercept it in case another attack was occurring. Instead of an attacking Japanese bomber, they encountered a ghost fighter, a pre-war American aircraft that had been shot down and appeared to be dead at the controls. It lost altitude and landed in a field, but no one recovered the pilot's body. It is regarded to be one of the most bizarre mysteries of the war. 7. Metro 2. Metro 2 is the informal name for a putative hidden underground metro system that is like the public Moscow Metro, known as Metro 1. The system was allegedly created, or at least begun, during the reign of Joseph Stalin, and was dubbed D6 by the KGB. The main Directorate of Special Programs and the Ministry of Defense continue to operate it. Metro 2 is claimed to feature 4 lines that are 160 to 660 feet deep. It is believed to connect the Kremlin to the Federal Security Service headquarters, the government airport at Vnukovo 2, and an underground village at Ramenki. among other places of national significance. In 1994, the leader of an urban exploration group called the Diggers of the Underground Planet claimed to have discovered an entry to this underground system. Historic evidence, on the other hand, paints a much more conservative picture, with only one line existing by the late 1960s, from the Kremlin, specifically Site 103 to Site 54 south of Moscow State University, with a spur going northwest from there to the area of the Matveyevskaya railway platform and the DV1. Additional lines to Vnukovo were most likely invented later by the enthusiast community, though with the evolution of the hardened protective structure design in the 1970s and 1980s, a redundant backup of this system may have been explored. The Vnukovo line, intended to be created for government emergency evacuation, connected to the Vnukovo International Airport, which was originally established for military activities during World War II, became a civilian facility afterwards. 6. Cuneiform tablets. Scientists have uncovered the function of a mystery Babylonian clay tablet from 3,700 years ago. Researchers at the University of New South Wales in Australia discovered that the tablet contains the world's oldest and most precise trigonometric table. What's more, the discovery rewrites history, proving that Babylonians originated trigonometry, the study of triangles, over 1,000 years before the ancient Greeks. The tablet, known as Plimpton 322, was unearthed in southern Iraq in the early 20th century. Its discoverer, Edgar Banks, is regarded as one of the inspirations for Indiana Jones's adventuresome archaeologist character. The tablet is thought to have originated in the ancient Sumerian city of Larsa and was made somewhere between 1822 and 1762 BC. It contains 15 rows of numbers inscribed in cuneiform over 4 columns. It employs a base 60 numeric system, which originates with the ancient Sumerians. Scientists believe it could have been a valuable resource in the construction of palaces, temples, and waterways. Prior to pocket calculators, trigonometric tables were frequently employed in a variety of fields. They allowed people to utilize one known ratio of the sides of a right-angled triangle to calculate the other 2 unknown ratios. Interestingly, this is not only the world's oldest trigonometric table, but it is also the only completely accurate one due to its usage of the theoretically more precise base 60. 5. Tesla missing files. Following the announcement of Tesla's death, the United States government promptly obtained his papers and files. The FBI directed the Office of Alien Property to take immediate control of all his remaining property and goods. Because of the obvious nature of Tesla's work, J. Edgar Hoover, director of the FBI, designated it top secret. The United States government believed that obtaining them was critical before any foreign nations, particularly the Soviet Union, could. Shortly after, Dr. John G. Trump, an electrical engineer, was asked to study his papers to determine whether they had genuine concrete worth. He found it was primarily of a speculative, philosophical, and promotional character, and noted the papers did not include new sound, workable principles, or methods for realizing such results. Tesla's extended family, especially his nephew Sava Kosanovich, fought hard to get at least his personal belongings returned. Their plea was eventually granted, and some of his personal belongings were given back to his family. According to recently declassified records, the FBI was concerned at the time about his nephew's intentions. They had pondered arresting him to keep Tesla's work from getting into hostile hands. After a lengthy legal battle, Kosanovich, the true owner to his uncle's belongings, had finally received them. Tesla's belongings and data were sent to Belgrade. However, only 60 of Tesla's effects reached Belgrade, out of an estimated 80 trunks. It is still unclear whether the United States government retained some of the material or not. 4. Taos Hum. Many well-known personalities have lived in Taos, New Mexico, including Julia Roberts, Dennis Hopper, D.H. Lawrence, Aldous Huxley, and Donald Rumsfeld. It is a small, laid-back, artsy community with a unique mystery, a resident hum of unknown origin known as Taos Hum. A wide range of reasons have been presented, from mundane to fantastic, psychological to otherworldly. Blamed have been stoned hippies, covert government mind control experiments, underground UFO bases, and everything in between. However, the study discovered that there was no single distinct Taos Hum, but rather multiple different ones that participants claimed. Others described it as a whir, hum, or buzz. The fact that not everyone heard the same thing was perplexing. It suggested that they were reporting subjective sensations rather than objective noises. 3. Mystery of Genghis Khan Tomb. Grave robbers, adventurers, and archaeologists have all made numerous attempts to find Genghis Khan's tomb. The legendary warrior's birthplace, Burkhan Khaldun in the Khenti province of northeastern Mongolia, has received the most attention. According to The Secret History of the Mongols, the earliest surviving literary source on Genghis's final days, he took sanctuary here, revered it, designated it Mongolia's most sacred peak, and most intriguingly screamed, "Bury me here when I die." However, all searches in the vicinity have been futile. After a decade of research, Alan Nichols, 86, an attorney, published author, and Tibet and China expert, believes Genghis's final burial site is somewhere else. Scholars from several nations, including Mongolia, China, Russia, and Kazakhstan, have asserted that the site is located there. The discovery of a tomb in any of these countries would be concerning to the others, as it may be taken as a claim that that country is the heir to Genghis Khan's global empire. 2. Stone of Puma Punku. Puma Punku is a 6th century T-shaped and strategically aligned man-made terraced platform mound with a sunken court and monumental building on top. It is part of the Puma Punku complex at the Tiwanaku site near Tiwanaku in western Bolivia. The Puma Punku complex is a series of plazas and ramps centered on the Puma Punku platform mound. Today, the massive structure on top of the platform mound is in ruins. It is believed to have started after AD 536. Puma Punku was the second most important Tiwanaku edifice after Akapana, which is thought to be Puma Punku's twin. Only the names Akapana and Puma Punku are historically significant among Tiwanaku's area names. Puma Punku has multiple small gates that are exact copies of once standing full-size gateways. In addition to these tiny entrances, the Puma Punku monumental complex most likely housed at least 5 gateways. Puma Punku's foundation platform supported up to 8 andesite gates. 5 andesite gateway fragments bearing similarities to the Gateway of the Sun were discovered. Tiwanaku is significant in Inca mythology because it is thought to be the location where the world was founded. The name Puma Punku translates to Gate of the Puma in Aymara. The Puma Punku complex is made up of an unwalled western court, a central unwalled esplanade, a terraced platform mound coated with stone, and a walled eastern court. Puma Punku was said to be unimaginably wondrous during its peak, ornamented with polished metal plaques, brightly colored ceramic, and fabric embellishments, and visited by costumed citizens, elaborately clothed priests, and elites decked out in exotic jewelry. The current understanding of this complex is restricted due to its age, the lack of a written record, and the structure's deterioration because of treasure hunting, looting, stone mining for construction stone and railroad ballast, and natural weathering. 1. The Sphinx Claw in Israel. Archaeologists working in Israel believe they've unearthed an unexpected discovery, the feat of an Egyptian sphinx related to a pyramid-building ruler. A part of the statue's front legs was discovered near Hazor, a UNESCO World Heritage Site located north of the Sea of Galilee. Between the paws is a hieroglyphic inscription bearing the name of King Menkaure, also known as Mycerinus, who governed Egypt during the Old Kingdom almost 4,000 years ago and built one of the Great Giza Pyramids. Researchers do not believe Egypt had a link with Israel during Menkaure's reign. They believe the Sphinx was transferred to Israel later, around the 2nd millennium BC. The Sphinx, a mythical monster that was part lion and part human, was depicted in art throughout the ancient Near East, India, and Greece. The artifact recovered in Hazor is the first known Sphinx fragment related with King Menkaure. It is also the only royal Egyptian Sphinx ever discovered in Israel. Hazor was ideally placed at the crossroads of Egypt and Babylon. Originally a Canaanite city, it had been fortified from the early 2nd millennium BC, taken by the Israelites, rebuilt by King Solomon, and finally destroyed by the Assyrians in 732 BC. Some of these secrets were mind-boggling, but my favorite one is the ghost plane with no pilot. Which one was your favorite? Why don't you let us know in the comments below? Well, that's it for now. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and let us know in the comments what you think. Check out our other videos and subscribe to be part of the fun. Click on the notification icon so you can see our new videos as soon as they're uploaded. Thanks for watching and see you next time.